Hello and welcome to the Kristin Carrera podcast. I am Kristin. Welcome back if you've been following along. And if you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, and follow along. Comments. I love to hear where you are on your journey. I'm on day 21 of the Lion Diet Challenge. And what's new? Nothing. Same old routine. Woke up tired. Took a cold shower at 8 o'clock in the morning. That woke me up, got a lot of energy to get some work done for a client. And then I finally made my way out to my chiropractor, Dr. Michael Newman, shout out to him. And I went and got adjusted and got my decompression. I still feel like I need to go back because last night it was still hurting and I still didn't sleep right. But overall, yesterday was a great day. First meal of the day was the carnita that I made in my Instant Pot with my homemade beef broth. And then for dinner, I just was not in the mood to have beef again. And so I ran to the grocery store and picked up these bone shoulder lamb chops. They weren't the ones that I originally really liked. They didn't have them. I was so sad. But these were second best, really, really good. And it was just nice to kind of switch it up from red meat, red meat, red meat, red meat, red meat, red meat. You got my point. So again, overall, yesterday was a good day aside from my neck ache and the waking up tired still in the morning. And yes, I am still tired. I am getting tired of drinking water and I'm getting tired of eating meat, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm almost there. And yesterday, I almost came in and did a quick video and was going to tell you that I'm quitting. I'm just going to have my cafecito or my eggs. And it's very hard. It's hard because I make breakfast for everybody. I make coffee for my husband. And so it's like the temptation is just there. It's there and I want it so bad, but I held on strong. Okay. I'm going to give myself a hug and a round of applause because it is not easy. So give yourself a round of applause, give yourself a hug, pat yourself on the shoulder, whatever it is, if you made it through another day. Yesterday, we talked about the correlation of stress and anxiety and how that can connect to people overeating, binge eating, or people like me who it suppresses our appetite and we don't want to eat. And neither is really good. So I talked to you about that. And then as I was talking to you, I realized that the two articles that I linked in the description, which I'll link the two new articles in my description, so go check that out, was mostly one article was based off of women, the other off men. So then I started to think, well, do men and women, do they react the same way with stress and anxiety? Do they tend to binge eat more or does it suppress their appetite or, what happens? And so I would love to hear your experience if it is something that you've been through. Are you a binge eater or does it make you not hungry and you don't want to eat? But today I want to dive a bit deeper into the binge eating and how it shows up differently in men and women. So studies show that while both men and women experience binge eating, the way it plays out can vary. Women are more likely to binge eat at a response to negative emotions like anxiety and depression, which is why emotional eating is common among women, which is something that I read was that unfortunately also in these studies, more women are tested on this than men. And I think that has to do with, I wasn't really able to find a more recent study. So if you have one, please link it below and send it to me. But it seems to go back to that mentality of that men don't have like these mental breakdowns and they don't go through depression and all this. And as we've moved on through the years, we all know that that's not true. Men get depressed just as badly as women, and they also suffer from anxiety. So I would love to see more studies on that. And then so it says, on the other hand, men might struggle with more psychiatric conditions like anxiety or substance abuse, and they report binge eating more often without the same emotional trigger. So they still do have some binge eating, but sometimes it's not always related to that stress and anxiety. And it's important to remember that binge eating is not just a woman issue, right? That's what we're talking about. It affects both genders, though in different ways. And I think it's important that we talk about it. I think it's important that we learn about it because it is an issue out there. And it's a struggle for this emotional eating. And we should be more concerned of how it's related to food as well, because these foods are addictive. And I feel that it does play a big role in how we react and what we do with these foods. So definitely, if it is something that you are struggling with, don't hesitate to reach out to somebody for help, because it is definitely something that I think people don't realize is such an issue for people to go through, and how we need to really discuss this openly and be okay with, this is what's going on in the world. Let's talk about this. Let's find a solution. Let's help each other out, right? Don't keep it inside if it's something that you're going through. And the same goes with the studies of the comparison of being, when you lose your appetite, because that was the other issue. So I have that here. I have the comparison of the two studies. So both studies examined the differences in emotional eating between men and women with binge eating disorder. And the first study found that women reported more frequent emotional eating, especially in response to anxiety, anger, and frustration. Similar in the other study, where women were more likely to eat in response to negative emotions. So, like when you're depressed. And men in both studies had more psychiatric disturbances, which is what we talked about, including a higher prevalence of substance dependence or Axis 1 psychiatric diagnosis, indicating that men may experience different psychological challenges alongside binge eating compared to women. So that's definitely interesting. On the psychological functioning portion, both studies suggest that men and women show similar levels of concern over body shape and weight, and experience comparable levels of eating disturbances, interpersonal issues, and self-esteem problems. So let's take a moment to think, are these some of the things that you're going through when you are binge eating or possibly not eating at all? However, men tend to have more psychiatric comorbidities. I might not be saying that right, which could influence how they experience and cope with binge eating. So finding both studies indicate that treatment approaches may need to consider these gender differences. For instance, women may benefit more from interventions focused on managing emotional eating and handling negative emotions. In contrast, men might need more support for psychiatric disturbances such as substance abuse or other Axis 1 disorders. So it's interesting to find that this is an issue out there, right? And again, we need to talk about it. So here I am just putting it out there. I am definitely not a doctor or an expert in binge eating or anything, but I just wanted to discuss it because for me, I have the opposite effect. I have where I don't get hungry and I have to force myself to eat, because when I get stressed or I get anxious, I literally lose my appetite and I don't even want to look at food. And so for a lot of people that I know and that I have talked to in the past, they had that opposite effect. They emotionally eat, and they eat stuff that are not healthy for them. They grab the cupcakes and the cookies and the candies and the sodas and the french fries and the burgers and the pizza, and you get my point. So they don't really go for the steak. If you are a carnivore, do you still binge eat? I would love to know if it's something that you feel you see yourself eating more when you're stressed or anxious, that emotional eating. And are you sticking to that carnivore diet or lion diet? Or are you reaching for the foods that you should not eat? And then you feel bad because you dropped the ball on eating the carnivore way, and now you feel like you have to start over. I know a lot of people feel like that too. I've seen people write them in some of the forums that I'm in. And for those people, if you are that person, I will like to tell you that it's okay. We all drop the ball at some time, at one point. We are not perfect. We are human beings. We are only trying to do our best and live our best lives. So brush it off. Today's a new day. Start fresh and continue your journey. It does not mean that you erased the last couple weeks or the last couple months or however long that you've been doing this. It just means that today is a new day. And just like with the lion diet, I am taking it day by day, making sure that I get through it. As much as I've wanted to quit, every single time I drink my water, I remind myself that there are only a couple days left. And then I can go back to carnivore. Now, if that is not your case because you are on the carnivore for a little bit more of a long-term situation for your health, then just take it day by day and remind yourself today is a new day. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I will see you again tomorrow.